Alright, hello everyone, we're here. Finally won the big one. Last night, went to bed with a grin on my face, obviously. I was very happy. I just got done recording the intro to this video, but I accidentally clicked stop recording. I was playing Queen, we are the champions and shit, but, you know, number one, don't want to get copyright striked. Two, don't feel like redoing the whole ass intro. To kind of speedrun the intro I gave, it was good to finally win. Chase has been dogging me for a while. You know, I'm always like the top 1 or 2 team, and I could just never convert it in playoffs. Season 1, me and Tanner were tied at 5-1 going into playoffs. We had to end season 1 a little early, so me and Tanner were tied at 5-1. Lost in semifinals to JC. Season 2, finally made it to finals, lost to MNaz. Season 3, finally got it. Third time's the charm, baby. Third time's the charm. But yeah, but like I was just saying a couple minutes ago before I quick stopped recording like a dumbass, it's a little cliche, but I believe in it, so that's why I'm gonna say it. Losses teach you infinitely more than a win ever will, and I feel like I've been really good at that, and I think that's been one of my strengths as a player, just in any competitive setting, but especially this league. So like, let me go over all my losses in Big Juice history, because it's not a lot. Season 1, I lost to JC in the regular season, and then I lost to him in semifinals. That's 2 losses. Season 3, I lost to JC once, beat him once. I lost to Tanner once and beat him once. And then I lost to Chris once and then beat him once. And then I lost to MNaz in the finals. So that's 6 losses in 2 seasons. Not bad. Then season 3, my only loss was against Chris. So I have 7 losses total in Big Juice history. And every time I lost, I learned a lot from it. I really went back. Obviously, I gave myself the credit of like what I thought I did well in those games, but every time I lost, I always really thought through like where I went wrong in prep, where I went wrong in play, and all that. So for me, finally winning it feels really good, but for some of the older Big Juice guys, this intro might be a little long because, you know, I'm go over each team throughout my season, because well, obviously the season 3 team, this team that finally did it, is what you learn along the way in the seasons that can get you to that championship. So starting off in season 1, well, first thing I'll explain is there's 11 Pokemon here. Nothing changed in season 1. We still only had 10 Pokemon. Reason there's Florges and Urbombe is because I had Florges the whole season, the whole regular season, like the whole 6 games I had with Florges. But going into week 4 of season 1, I traded Florges for Urbombe, but that's when we had to cut the season short and kind of just speedrun playoffs. So I had Urbombe for playoffs, which it only came to 1 game against JC because I got the bye week, but yeah. So I put Florges and Urbombe. You know, it's like, it's technically I would have had Florges, but I had Urbombe for the one last game of the season against JC in the semifinals, so I have them both on there. But realistically, this is just Florges, but kind of had to have Urbombe on there, you know what I mean? So as you can see with this team, also the things we did back in season 1 and 2, the draft style was different. We did 2 months from OU, 2 from UU, 2 from RU, 2 from NU, and then 2 from PU. So it was still 10 mons, was 2 from each tier rather than our own created tiers. Season 1 and 2, the teams were a little bit wonkier. Also, pre-Gen 9, this is Gen 8, so I gotta take that into account as well. But looking at this team, I was really happy coming out of the draft. I was doubling up on my fairy typings, but one was a steel type. It was a great Prankstermon. I brought like dual screens like every week. It was super good. And I felt really good with this team. Well, but the issue I had with it, well, one, JC's team was just really good in mine. Like, I usually don't like using that excuse about like, oh, I just had a bad matchup. I think that's a pretty lame excuse in general. You know, some teams just are naturally good in others, but I feel like there's always something you can at least do about it. Personally, I'm not a big guy on like, oh, I lost because of counter team, but you know, so I'm not going to use that excuse even though I just mentioned it. But for me, I did Draft League way back in like 2015, 2016, maybe a little bit 2017, but I don't think so. I think it was just like 2015 and 16. I did a whole hell of a lot. So coming back last year in 2022, started around June, so it's almost been a year since Big G started, which is kind of crazy. But coming back, I wanted to use one Pokemon that obviously I'm never gonna draft a Pokemon that I don't like, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's just fucking stupid. So obviously, every season I'm gonna draft Pokemon that A, I like, and B, since this was my first time back to Draft League in like 2015, 7 years. Jesus Christ, I'm old as shit. This is my first time back in Draft League in 7 years. I wanted to draft Pokemon that I knew were good in the format, and that's how we came up with this. The big problem I had with this team in specific that like JC's team kind of showed me is obviously Mega Gyarados Victini is a crazy duo. But one, they're pretty slow. So that's why I picked up Bombay, was because I thought I really needed the webs. Because without the webs, like, my team felt a little slow. And two, the reason why I struggled against JC's team was he had a Goodra, which, very bulky mon. And Gyarados and Victini can't really take it out like that. And I can't put it to sleep with a Moongus because it has Sap Sipper. Or he could be gooey. So in prep it was really hard. Granted, I could have brought like an offensive Druddigon to deal with it, you know what I mean? But, you know, I was still a noob, not a complete noob. I still had a lot of experience from my younger days when I was in like high school or whatever. But first time back in Draft League in a while, you know, there's going to be some warming up time. And the big issue I found with this team was if Victini and Gyarados couldn't deal with something like the Goodra, my team kind of struggled because I would say like 90% of my offensive pressure was on those two alone, and then like the other 9% was on Jolteon, and then the other 1% was on like Ditto or Hitmontop, or even just Florges just kind of clicking Moonblast in the back. So what this team told me is I need more offensive options. I kind of want a generally faster team. You know, I want my speed tiers to be a little bit better. I don't want to be reliant on webs. I think webs are good, but I don't think you should put your whole team's strategy around it. And granted, initially this team wasn't. It was a lot, you know, I had Florges, but it felt really pressured to get the webs, and Rabombe was kind of sitting there in free agency, so like, fuck it, let's get it. So that's where I lost to JC in semifinals. I knew I wanted higher speed tiers, and also, I knew I really felt comfortable, and I really liked momentum. Victini is a great U-turner. Jolteon is an amazing Volt Switcher, so I knew I wanted more Switch initiative, and I knew I wanted better speed tier, so going into Season 2, I'll just be straight up. The fact that I didn't win Season 2 with this team is insanely criminal in my mind. This team, oh baby, this team was nuts. Dragapult, Infernape, Landorus all get U-turn. Raikou gets Volt Switch, like, and those were 4 Pokemon I almost brought to every week. Side note, originally the team, I'm not gonna get into like all my trades because it's just like kind of pointless. I think I only made like 2 trades, but the big one was I dropped Corviknight at the end of week 2, and I picked up Lander Styrian. How Lando T went undrafted, I could not tell you, but Landers plus Empoleon is like the best defensive core you can probably get. They cover each other like perfectly. So I felt really good once I got Landers, and he literally came to every single game after I picked him up. Literally every single game. I brought him like defensive most, like, let me just pull it up so you guys can get an idea. Go to the kill count. Season 2, Dragapult went 38-7. Landers Styrian, who was again, back in Season 1 and 2, we did 2 games a week, mind you. So, he was 4 games down on Dragapult, and he had 37 kills. He was I maybe brought him offensively in the regular season, like 1 or 2 games. So, Lander is just proving to be an absolute menace in Season 2. Just, he even out-fragged Infernape, which is crazy to me. Yeah. There's a lot of things about Season 2 that I really liked. Like, Raikou, first, like, 3 or 4 weeks, he was, like, 13, 14-0. Like, bro was on a god kill streak. Which is pretty funny if you guys remember that, but... yeah, Season 2, coming out of the draft, Chase even said it, like, Plaz is probably winning the season. And for good reason. I mean, this team is just... In my mind, this is a crazy team. Another important thing to note is because we didn't have points back then, I drafted Mega Audino, which at the time was a Tier 4 Mega, or RU, or NU, whatever it was. But yeah, I drafted Mega Audino when there was no reason to. So I give myself clout points for that. The fact I brought that thing to a finals and almost won, bro. Ooh, bro, this team, oh man, my Season 2 team, I love it, bro. Season 1 team, I wish I had more time with it, but Season 2 team, like, every team I've had, I've always loved, and Season 2 it was bittersweet, because I really felt like it was my season, but MNaz just showed up in playoffs really big, and he beat me. Can't complain too much, but Season 2, after I lost, again, back to the drawing board. What went wrong? The team-wise, like the composition of the team, my opinion, it was perfect. But with all teams, there are some issues, so let's get into it. Big one is my only form of hazards were rocks. If you go back to my Season 1 team, if you go back to my Season 1 team, I had Spikes with Klefki, I had Webs with Urbombe, and then I had Spore, and I had, and I had Jordigun with rocks. So I at least had some options. You know, I only had 1 Rocker, 1 Spiker, and 1 Weber, but I had options, and then I had a Spore, which Spore we might as well consider that a hazard. So I had options. Season 2, I literally just had rocks, which in prep, it just makes prep so easy. Granted, 99% of the time, the only hazards a team will bring is like just rocks, but in Draft League, you gotta make people prep more. So for going into Season 3, and then, well, hold on, before I get to that, and then another thing was just besides the rocks, my team, like all my offensive things, like my main 2, I guess, offensive things were like Dragapult and Infernape, and they're not that bulky, right? Like Dragapult, you can make up for the bulk in his EV spreads because you very rarely ever have to run like max speed. But Infernape was a little frail. Raikou's bulky on the special side, but unless you get a Scald Burn, he's not that physically bulky. Landers, he's pretty bulky, but in general, going into Season 3, I wanted a slightly bulkier team. I wanted like bulky offense, because this team I would consider it like balanced to offense. So for Season 3, I wanted like a bulky offense / balanced team, just slightly bulkier. And then I wanted more hazards. I wanted more options of hazards. whether I brought them or not, I wanted the hazards just to force prep. So going into Season 3, we changed the draft style up. We have the point systems we have now with all the tiers we made, but Season 3, coming out of the draft, this is what I had. And I felt really, really good about this. I felt really good. Obviously, I had 2 snipes in this draft. One was I really, really wanted Zygarde because I was going to make him my Terra Captain and make him Terra Ground. I was really looking forward to that. Noah kind of fucked me up on that, but we got our revenge on him like week 13. And then in the draft, I wanted Incineroar because I have Gengar and Bronzong. And, you know, I have an immunity and Miltank for ghost types, but I wanted the dark type so I would also have a resistance. Fortunately, B got Incineroar, and then it was between Magmortar or Typhlosion. You know, it was 50-50 on draft night, but I decided to go with Mag. I just felt like just having the raw damage was better. I didn't feel like the speed was that necessary, so we went with Mag. Looking back, and especially after last night with finals and about how Mag performed, it worked out for us. But yeah, felt really good about this team. Obviously, Gen 9, Garchomp got access to spikes, which, you know, I think we brought it like once, but Gengar got toxic spikes. We unfortunately couldn't bring that ever, but Roserade gets spikes and T-spikes. We brought that all. Toxic spikes, not as much, but we brought spikes a good amount. We got a lot of rocks options. We have Miltank and Bronzong, which I consider to be 2 of the best rockers in the low tiers, and we have Garchomp, which, again, we only brought defensive Chomp like 1 or 2 games this season, but the times we did bring it, like, Garchomp is just another fantastic stealth rocker, and I felt really, really good about this team. Just a lot of Pokemon I personally think are just fantastic in Draft League. And yeah, I felt really good. But obviously, with any season, there's going to be some trades. So, first trade was Hitmonchan for Hariyama. I did this trade because, one, I liked the fighting typing. Originally, I got Hitmonchan because he was a fighting type with Mach Punch priority and Rapid Spin. But after week 1 against MNaz, kind of saw that, you know, if you can't even 1v1 a Chinpao, what the fuck is the point? So, I got Hariyama because it gives me another thick fat user, which complemented my team a good amount, and he's just really bulky. Also, he got access to Headlong Rush in Gen 9, so I thought that would be fun, but realistically, there just wasn't space on the team. The other 9 mons on my team were just too good. So, I'll get into the right side of the trades in a minute, but we traded Hariyama for Liepard because I wanted a Prankster user. I always love Prankster. I think it's a very strong ability to have on your team. Makes prep a little bit more hard. So we got Liepard. But I think like the week after, me and MNaz were in a call, and he was talking about trading Weezing, and that's when I kind of hit him, you know, because I brought Comfey to 1 game up until that point, and it was against Tanner, and after that game, I was like, I like Comfey, I think it's a good mon in draft, but I couldn't find space on my team to bring it, because I still wanted a defogger, you know, I always believe you need at least 1 rapid spinner and 1 defogger, that way you have ways to deal with both, you know, because they both have their plus sides and they both have their downsides. So having Blastoise be, because, you know, Mega Blastoise as a bulky mon, just he's so good at that, but I wanted the option to go Shell Smash or go offensive if I needed to, and I didn't want to sacrifice my hazard removal in doing so. So when he offered Weezing, I mean, gives me another Toxic Spiker. Amazing synergy with Miltank and Bronzong. Like, gives me another Levitate user. You can never have too many. Another T-Spiker, Great Will-O-Wisper, like... So, when I offered that trade to him and he accepted, I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. then the issue was I have triple poison now. I have Weezing, Gengar, and Roserade, and I knew I couldn't get rid of Roserade. It was too important. Means Gengar, unfortunately, was the guy to go. I really, really didn't want to get rid of Gengar because I was bringing him to a lot of games, and I thought getting rid of him was gonna really hurt my season because I didn't. In Tier 2, there was not a whole lot I wanted. I thought about Porygon-Z for a bit. I thought about Frostlass because, again, they're both 110 speed. They're both ghost types. Ice type is never bad to have, but Frostlass is just too shit of a Pokemon in Tier 2. Like, there was better options to be made, even if it didn't help my team, per se, there were still better options. And my eyes then went to Tornadus Incarnate because Chase originally had it, but then he dropped it. But Tornadus gives me another defogger in case I don't want to bring Weezing 1 week. And Prankster defog at that, so kind of really takes the load off Weezing and Blastoise to do so. Prankster Tailwind will always be good. And just even offensively, like, Tornadus Incarnate, like, is just a demon. So when I saw Tornadus, and also, like, the big thing for me I wanted when I tried a Gengar was to preserve my speed tiers. Because Gengar at 110 is super, super nice. And if I got something like Porygon-Z, I drop down to 90. If I got something like Frostlass, I'm still at 110, but it's just such a bad Pokemon that, like, I can't justify that. So Tornadus, super good, can be physically or specially offensive. It's 111 speed, so I get just slightly faster for the team. And once I made these trades, like, it honestly hurt me a lot to trade away Gengar, because Gengar historically has gotten shafted in Big Juice, unfortunately. Season 1, it was on a coach's team that dropped out of the league, which is part of the reason why we had to speedrun Season 1. He's one of the 2 coaches that dropped out in Season 1. And then Season 2, it was on another team that dropped out, I believe. I believe Gabriel drafted it. But again, Gabriel dropped out, and that's when we got B in the league. But yeah, Gengar historically has gotten shafted in Big Juice. Has always been drafted, funny enough, but never ends on a team. So I felt really bad for Gengar, but I knew moving forward with the team that my team was just objectively better. And once I made this trade with MNaz and picked up Torn in free agency, I really thought, like, I just had this feeling like this is the team. So let's get into the season overview. A lot of green. A lot of green and 1 red. So I'll just go over, again, I kind of did this with my interview with Tanner last night. I'll get that uploaded like today or tomorrow. I'll get it uploaded sometime soon. But essentially what I said in that interview was, after I lost to MNaz last season, I kind of just had like this gut feeling we were going to go back. I don't know what told me it, but I just had a feeling. Just the way he played in playoffs and the way he played against me in finals, I knew if he could just make it to playoffs, which is always his struggle, just making it to playoffs, I had a good feeling I was going to play him again. So for me, it was just about positioning myself to also see him in finals and get the rematch I wanted. So for me, there was 2 important games this season for me, and there's no disrespect to anyone that I played, especially to Chase, because Chase should have beat me, just flat out should have beat me, but got a little unlucky with that crit. But yeah, it's just the nature of the game, you know what I mean? But again, I had a lot of good games this season, but the 2 games in my mind that were the most important to me was Week 1 against MNaz, and then Week 10 against Chris. Funny enough is the 1 game we lost, but I'll get into that in a minute. Week 1 against MNaz, obviously I wanted revenge. Just beat me in finals a couple months ago. I had to get my revenge. And also, 2, it was a heat check. His team was very scary. Had Dragapult, Chinpel. Did not have a Spothor at the time, but he had Dragapult, Chinpel. scary team. I wanted to prove to myself that I could beat them. Unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately. Fortunately, I beat them, but unfortunately, I should have. That's one of the. That's one of the sets I should have lost this season. MNaz just each game had me in a. He had me in a position where I should have lost, but he just made like 1 or 2 plays that just made absolutely no sense, and threw. So yeah, I mean, realistically, if we want to look at our record, we probably should have been 11-3. Should have lost to Chase, and MNaz probably should have beaten us. But you know, I was playing bad that set too. So like, I'll just say I was playing better of the. Me and MNaz's game, just who was throwing more, and it turned out to be him. So you know. So yeah, the 2 games that I won but should have lost is probably against Chase week 7 and MNaz week 1. Yeah, week 1 against MNaz was a very important game for me because, you know, I wanted to get my revenge, and it was a heat check for what I thought was going to be a rematch in finals. Week 10 against Chris. So me and Chris played week 4, and that's when he brought the Giga Impact Palafin. And, you know, it's one of those things where if he hit that Giga Impact on Blastoise, does he win? You know, the game definitely becomes a lot closer, but him missing that Giga Impact, like, guarantees his loss, you know what I mean? Like, him missing, that's why he lost, but him hitting doesn't necessarily mean he wins. So, you know, it's one of those things. But going into week 10, you know, the season's coming to an end, there's only like 5 weeks left. And Chris at this time only had 2 losses to me and Woo. So he was, what, 7-2, and I was 9-0. Yeah. And I knew just looking at the playoff bracket and how everyone was playing during the season, I knew there was 2 people I'd most likely play in semifinals. It's either going to be Tanner or it's going to be Chris. And Tanner, wasn't winning his division just yet. He's still tied with Croc. So I wasn't sure if I was going to play Tanner in quarterfinals or I was going to play him semis. And 2, Chris was just playing better. You know, he was just playing better than Tanner. So I really believed that I was going to play Chris in semifinals. So for me, not that I wanted to throw the game, but I kind of wanted to run a very unique strategy, we'll call it. And I should have won game 1, flat out. I should have won game 1, but you know, I'm not going to take that win away from. I will never take a win away from someone. So Chris, I should have beat you game 1, but game 2 and 3, you can have that. So yeah, Chris beat me. But you know, it was one of the few weeks where I didn't bring Garchomp, I didn't bring Blastoise. The 1 week all season I brought Liepard. Like, I brought a very funky team to that game. Mostly, 1, I didn't want to show anything for playoffs. You know, I was already kind of locked. Me and Chris were already kind of locked in. And again, I just had this gut feeling I was going to be playing Chris in semifinals. So I didn't want to show anything that I didn't have to. And, yeah, I'd rather, in my mind, I would rather have 1 loss. If I'm to get 1 loss all season, I'd rather have it be in the regular season than playoffs or finals. You know what I mean? So, for me, this was kind of just future-proofing my season. You know, just guaranteeing I have a better chance of beating Chris if we are to play in semifinals. So, those are the 2 big games for me this season. You know, if I were to call out any other games that were kind of hard for me, I'll call out my game against B. If he got rid of Earthquake on Aerodactyl and had Crunch. If he got rid of Earthquake for Crunch, you know, that set becomes very different. But yeah, for everyone else, I kind of felt like I had a good feeling and I prepped well for them. But 3 games that I won, but were 2 games that I won, but I should have lost, was against MNaz week 1 and Chase games week 7. And my game against B week 9, I feel like if he prepped just a little bit better, he could have brought me to game 3 very easily. and it could have been like a game of the season. You know, I'm not gonna just give him the win. I beat him. You know, obviously, if you don't prep well, you don't deserve a win. But you know, it's one of those cases where, like, you know, if he prepped just that one move, if he just had crunch, could have been a very different set. But yeah, I just had a really good season. Ended up, we didn't win any. None of my Pokemon won any awards, unfortunately. But I ended up winning Coach of the Season. Just, you know, it's nice. Get recognition from your friends and stuff. It's nice. So, moving into playoffs, this is the bracket. My top half of the bracket, I felt very confident in. Like, but the bottom half, you know, MNaz versus JC was the only game that I thought mattered in this bottom half, because Josh is weird. Because Josh plays very well, but he'll just have like those he'll just have some stinker games, you know what I mean? And that's not to say he had a stinker set against B. B's team just did very, you know, it's one of those cases where B just had a good team into him. I think Josh prepped pretty well for it, but B prepped and played very well, and that's why he beat Josh. And then I knew if there was one person that could beat MNaz in playoffs, it would be JC. Fortunately, JC took him to a game 5 but lost. And then once I saw MNaz beat JC, I knew, you know what I mean? So I beat Croc 3-0. Then I finally got that semifinals matchup I was anticipating against Chris. And you know, set went very in my favor. I 3-0'd him, but going into that set, I was like, I have my 2 hardest games back to back. Obviously, semifinals and finals are always going to be the 2 hardest for anyone. But Chris, there's only two coaches in big. If you remember from the beginning of the video, I've only lost 7 times, but there's only been 2 coaches I've lost to more than once. JC has beaten me 3 times. Beat me once in the regular season, season 1. He beat me in semifinals to go to finals and won it season 1. And then he beat me once in season 2. I beat him once in season 2. So yeah, JC's beat me 3 times. And then Chris has beat me twice. So yeah. So Chris just naturally hard for me, and then MNaz beat me in finals. So very hard games for me to deal with. But Chris, I prepped very well for, and it showed. And for MNaz, if I got the damage roll, all I'm saying is if I got that damage roll in a spot at the end of game 3, I would have 3-0'd him in finals, and that would have been crazy. The perfect playoff run would have been crazy. But for me personally, obviously 3-0ing MNaz, 3-0ing anyone in finals is the dream, right? But if I were to lose, if I were to not 3-0 MNaz, the next best is 3-1, because he beat me 3-1 last season finals. I beat him game 1, and then I lost the next 3 in a row, and then he beat me game 4, 3-1. So, you know, in a way, it kind of sucks that he ruined my perfect playoff run. I was really looking to get it, but, you know, if I wasn't going to get it, beating him 3-1 the same way he beat me last season, can't be too mad. So, just fantastic performance by me. You know, I don't like sucking my own dick. You know, I don't like sounding arrogant, but, I mean, when you drop one game, you know, I played, what, 10 games in playoffs and I only lost 1? I was playing different. Plain and simple. So, these Pokemon are inducted into the Hall of Fame. They are ingrained in Big Juice history. Yeah. Magmortar. So there's actually some funny stuff here. For the first time, we have multiple champions. First one up is Magmortar. He was on JC's team season 1 when JC won. Just got another one. And Bronzong has won back-to-back. Last season, he was on MNaz's team. And this season, he was on my team. So in Big Juice, we finally have 2 Pokemon that have won finals, or been on a championship-winning team. And Bronzong and Magmortar, which is kind of funny. I love it. And Liepard got a ring. Now, who would have guessed Liepard would ever get a championship ring? Not me. But yeah, um, Garchomp won Final Straw MVP. Boy went 13-1, just eviscerating him. I mean, all right, I'll get into every Pokemon one at a time, right? Zeraora, we had it banned the first 2 seasons because people were kind of scared of it, but we finally unbanned it. And you know, fast electric types in draft, always one of those things that people look at. Zeraora is one of the few electric types that is better physically because he gets signature move Plasma Fist, which is just an amazing move. Really wanted Zera. Blastoise is just the fact there's a tier 3 Mega is criminal to me, so I had to get it. Blastoise, probably top 5, top 3 Megas in Draft League after using it for a full season. I mean, its bulk is insane. Even uninvested, just wall breaks like nothing else can. I mean, you technically have 4 stabs. You have Aura Sphere that stab because of Mega Launcher, Dark Pulse, Aura Sphere, Dragon Pulse, and then you have your Water Stab and Water Pulse. So like, not that I ever brought Dragon Pulse, but that is a move that gets boosted. So just Blastoise, amazing Mega. I mean, if it doesn't get drafted next season, I'd be genuinely surprised. Tornadus Incarnate really helped. Tornadus and Weezing, I'll just go over now. Tornadus, just absolute GOAT. I mean, offensively is super scary. Utility, super good. I mean, I say I'd be super surprised if all my Pokemon went undrafted, except for Liepard. But in reality, I just have a different way of drafting. As you can see, my team is literally a Gen 7 team. Like, you could draft this team in Gen 7 draft leagues, except for the Weezing, obviously, but, you know, this is, I like my older Mons. I have a lot more experience and play time with them, so I prefer the older Mons, but, you know, Torn, just really solid, and I'm glad I got to use it. Roserade, just my queen. She's like top 5 favorite Pokemon for me all time. Just, I love Roserade. She's so good competitively, and I had a great season using her. Couldn't bring her to finals, unfortunately, but brought it to semifinals, and she just destroyed Chris's team. So, you know, if she's not going to pop off in finals or even come, I'm glad she popped off in semifinals. She's my queen. Bronzong, just the GOAT. I mean, Bronzong is just one of, if not the best tier 3 in the league. It's such a solid Pokemon. Just, its utility, its fact it can be either defense, it can be a mixed attacker because you always run around min speed on Bronzong, so you'd never have to lower your special attack or attack. You can run like Psychic or Future Sight and then like an Earthquake or Nice Bender. Always super good. Love Bronzong. Miltank was the glue to the team. Thick Fat can help Garchomp or Torn or Roserade. It can help Bronzong with the Fire. Sap Zipper I brought a couple times because it helps out Blastoise. Just Miltank, glue to the team. Miltank, the GOAT. I brought fucking Thick Fat Choppleberry like 99% of the time, but it's for good fucking reason. Miltank is just the GOAT. Weezing, extremely crucial to my second half of the season. Instantly Weezing became like a must-bring almost every week. Just nothing but high praise for Galarian Weezing. I mean, that mon is just insane. Has a very exposable special defense stat, but I mean, if you just play it right, it's just super hard to deal with. Liepard, you know, you came to one game and you lost me it, so, you know, not much to say, but I will say this. I got it the week before I got Tornadus, so if I didn't get Tornadus in drop Gengar, like if MNaz never did that trade with me, number one, do I win finals? I don't know. But number two, If I didn't get Torn, I probably would have used Liepard slightly more, but just having Torn, you know, why would I ever bring Liepard? You know what I mean? So, yeah. And then Mag, I thought I was going to use it a lot more than I did this season. I think I brought him to like 3 or 4 games in the regular season. And then in playoffs, I didn't bring him at all until finals. But in finals, he was such a crucial part of the plan that it kind of makes up for him not being there that much in the regular season. Just Mag is a super good Pokemon. Just 125 special attack is nuts. The fact he can be physical with moves like Mach Punch and Earthquake. I never got to, you know, going into the season, I really was big on bringing Belly Drum at least once, but you know, it's just one of those things where I couldn't fit it in. But and then I saved the final straw MVP for last, but Garchomp made him Terra Steel, and you know, during this whole season, it didn't feel that impact. I couldn't see its impact from my point of view, but the second I got the playoffs, it really hit me just how important the Steel typing was. I mean, we'll get into it, but I mean, the biggest example of it is when I played MNaz last night. He didn't even bring an ice or a fighting move on Chin Pao for it. He brought Psychic Fangs for Weezing, which, you know, obviously, but he had Sucker Punch and Crunch as his 2 other moves. So, the fact that Terra Steel Garchomp can you take its quad weakness that most dragons have in ice, and you make it a resistance, and then you not only resist ice, but you resist fairy, then you can kill them with an Iron Head. Like, it's like so obvious that Steel is the best Terra typing for Garchomp. It feels almost like blatantly, stupidly obvious at times, but just there's a reason. Like, it covers its weaknesses so well, defensively and offensively. I mean, Garchomp wasn't in the original draft plan. I wanted Zygarde, but it's one of those few times where it was like the universe was telling me, you don't want Zygarde. And for that, I thank Noah. Thank you, Noah, for stealing Zygarde from me, because if I had Zygarde in that finals, I don't know if I win, bro. Like, having Garchomp be there was so important. I mean, again, the theme going into the season was bulky offense, and Garchomp is a lot less bulkier. Zygarde is a lot bulkier than Garchomp, but Garchomp, just the offensive pressure is super good. It was a super nice balance to have on the team. I believe Zygarde's at, what, 90 speed or 100 speed? So having I think it's 100. So having Garchomp at 102, outspeeding those base 100s. This Garchomp, you know, it's either him or Blastoise for team MVP. And, you know, just based on finals performance, not that Blastoise had a bad game. He had a very good game. But going 13-1 in finals, like, come on. That's fucking insane. So, Garchomp, probably the team MVP. The final straw MVP. Just Garchomp, my GOAT. My absolute GOAT. Now that I played my last game with this team, the nostalgia's already kind of kicking in, man. I mean, Season 1 and 2 teams, they're really fun. I like them a lot. Season 3, finally brought home the chip. And it's going to be sad, man, because Roserain moved up to Tier 2, Blastoise moved up to Tier 2, and I think that's it. But, yeah. It's gonna be tough not using these guys, but I will say this. So moving into Season 4, when you're the champion, you get you get some perks. Biggest one being, you get the belt. Obviously, MNaz is getting the belt sometime soon, so after he gets it, he'll have it for about a month or so, and then I'll get it. So probably by end of May, beginning of June, I'll get the belt. So having the belt is one perk. 2, you get to change his Discord's icon, which I changed it to a Garchomp thing for now, but I'll see what I want to do with it exactly coming up soon. You get the crown title on your name in Discord, which is just it's nice to see. It's very nice, very nice to see. And then 4, Discord icon, name change, belt, and then 4, you get to pick your draft placement for the upcoming season. And moving into season 4, season 3 was the season of Gen 9. I mean, if I were to round out my team again really quickly before I get into season 4, the fact that a Gen 7 team with Galarian Weezing won when there were things like Great Tusk, Flutter Mane, Chin Pow, Palafin, just, in my mind, me winning this season with this exact team proves that it doesn't matter what you draft, as long as you, 1, understand and are good with the Pokemon, and 2, just you play better, you will always win your games. So for me, it's a good reminder to myself and a reminder to everyone in the league that drafting broken shit is obviously important, but drafting a great team is obviously the most important thing. So that's the learning lesson in my championship here. But again, moving away from season 3, talking about season 4. We have 20 coaches, which, if we stayed at 16 teams, I thought about being 16th pick, just so I get the double pick. But 20 teams, this Pokemon went undrafted this season, which I thought was criminal. And I am really, really glad I won finals, because 1, obviously with all the perks that comes with it, but I really, really want to use this Pokemon. I already kind of announced it last night in the Discord call after I won finals, but with your first pick of the season 4 draft, draft isn't for another month or so, but with your first pick of season 4, your reigning, newly crowned champions, the Westside Grafaiai, are going to be getting the King Gambit. I mean, this Pokemon is insane. The fact that it went undrafted is criminal to me. So I am ecstatic to use this thing for next season. Obviously, I have a team built around it. Hopefully, I don't get sniped too badly. But having King Gambit is going to be so fun. This Pokemon is absolutely insane. And in that Dex format, he gets knockoff, he gets pursuit because of Bisharp. I mean, this Pokemon is going to be insane. I honestly, there's a lot of broken things that we're unbanning, like Kyurem Black, Coupon Bound, but I never get Pokemon that are even close to Kill Leader just because it's not the way I play, but if there ever is a Pokemon on my team to get Kill Leader of the whole league, it's going to be King Gambit, so I'm expecting really big things from King Gambit. I could change my mind. I very well could change my mind before draft, but the team I have built around King Gambit is just super solid, and I think it's really good. So I'm just announcing it now. I'm just getting out there because I want everyone to know the king of Season 3, the Westside Grafaiai, is getting the King Gambit. It's in the name, man. You gotta get the king when you're the fucking king. So that's gonna be it for me. Just shout out to everyone in Season 3. Every season we get better and better as players and as a league. Shout out to everyone in Season 3. Super fun season. We were very nervous initially, expanding out so much. We were at 10 teams Season 2, and then we went to 16. Had a lot of new people that we weren't really familiar with, but shout out to the Brits. Shout out to Croc, the GOAT. New even, didn't talk much in the Discord, but I appreciate you sticking through it, even though you didn't have a very successful season. So shout out to New. And obviously shout outs to anyone, to the one person in MNaz. You know, if there's ever a person I wanted to beat in finals, it would obviously be the person I lost to in finals last season. So, I'm very glad I got my rematch with MNaz. I was 5 months in the making in the title for a reason. I mean, I've been waiting on this match for a while. Finally got my chip against the one man I needed to beat the most. So, yeah, shout out to MNaz. Great game. You know, we'll talk about our game more so in the coming weeks and days. But yeah, that's it for the team. I already kind of gave my regards to them a few minutes ago. I'm gonna miss them a lot, but the torch. I mean, let's just talk about the torch. Victini and Gyarados, the squad captains, passing the torch to Dragapult and my girl Mavis Autono. And then they pass the torch down to this team. And now this team is passing the torch onto the king. Hopefully, we'll make it to finals for a third time in a row. Hopefully, we can get a second crown to our name coming out of Season 4. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I expect a lot more competition coming my way. You know, only losing one game in a whole season. People are going to be gunning for me as usual. So hopefully King Gambit will be able to hold it down for us and bring us to another championship. But that's going to be it for me. That's our season review. Hopefully, I talked about everything I wanted to. Yeah, looking forward to Season 4. Gonna be real sad. Gonna be real sad to say goodbye to this team. It's already paining me that I can't use them no more, but King Gambit is here. And the King gonna be here for a while, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Season 3 champ gonna be signing out of here. I'll see y'all. I don't know if I'll see y'all in Season 4. You know what I mean. I think I'll probably make a few videos before Season 4, but in the off chance I don't, your Season 3 champ, the Westside Grafia coach, team leader, King Gambit. We will see you in Season 4. Goodbye, everyone.